you are welcome. For this video, which is probably the most important video that you're going to watch today. Maybe this year. That would be cool. Okay. Let's get right into it. Now, I'm going to preface this video by saying I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I don't speak in academia. I'm a blue-collar guy with a redneck vocabulary, but I got sick 8 years ago, and the doctors, I couldn't figure out what was wrong with me, so I went to the doctors, and they couldn't figure out what was wrong with me either. And after a couple of years, they gave up, and I kept trying to figure it out, but I started to feel a bit better, and life was happening. Things had changed. I was pretty sick for that period of time, trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And many tests, including MRIs and CAT scans and x-rays and ultrasounds, everything you could stick in me was in me, or wrapped around me was wrapped around me. Nothing, right? No, after 2 years, like they said, nothing's wrong with you. Like first they said, we don't know what's wrong with you. And then we kept looking, and then they said, okay, there's nothing wrong with you. So I knew there was. I mean, it was evident to me. But like I said, I felt better enough that I didn't really need their help. And I was still trying to figure out what it was. It was really affecting me in many ways: neurological symptoms and gastrointestinal symptoms and vision loss and cognitive dysfunction. You name it. I was really suffering, and we couldn't figure it out. So, and I won't go into all of the ways we tried or all of the various symptoms. I'll maybe put a card at the end of the video with that stuff, but I'm definitely going to make more videos. And I want to just tell you right now, this is really important what I'm going to share. Like I said, it's probably the most important video you're going to watch today. Please like and share this video, if nothing else, and subscribe if you want to find out more about where I'm taking this, because I'm not finished. I'm close. What happened was I was working on a puzzle for about 8 years, and as I was getting very close to finishing it, and I was kind of looking for the last little puzzle piece, I found a piece that connects my puzzle. It just shows me that my puzzle is a piece of a much bigger puzzle. And that puzzle is what is the causal mechanism behind multiple sclerosis. Sorry, I have a dental issue that's making it hard for me to talk, which I'll explain later. But anyway, multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. I can't even think of all of them. Like I said, I'll put a card at the end with this list too. But basically MS and many associated and similar illnesses and ailments that have no real known cause. So I figured out the cause, and it's not. It's been under our noses for a long time, almost literally. It's ingrowing hairs, not ingrowing, and I'll explain what the difference is as we go on. And if that sounds a little crazy and a little flippant, I'm not kidding, and I'm dead serious, and it's been overlooked because why would you look for it? It's a hair, and we have them. If you did find one, we have hair everywhere. But when did we start shaving? Humans, as a species, we're the only animals I know of on the planet that actually purposely removes hair with a razor down to the skin. So I wondered recently why we do that. Like, I was smoking weed, and I had again, I've been working on my thing for 8 years, and it was a project that I had gotten as far as I could on my own, and I was trying to get the data and research that I had to seem important enough that somebody would help me finish it. Now I know it's important enough, so I'm begging for help finishing it, because I'm not done. But what I have found out is important enough that I have to share everything I have so far. In case whatever happens, I want what I know to be out there, because I know that if this information that I have right now gets into the right hands, it could change the face of diagnostic medicine and alleviate and prevent pain and suffering for millions of people. And I'm not overstating that. I'm not being grandiose. This is for real. And I hope that you take me seriously in spite of my linguistic abilities, syntax, and vocabulary, because it's not very fancy. So anyway, let's get into it. So like I said, 8 years ago I got sick, couldn't figure it out. 2 years later, the doctors still haven't figured it out, so I moved on a bit. I moved and had to sell my house because my job had to change. I lost my livelihood over this. And then I lost my house, and then I lost my family, friends, and everything, including 5 of my teeth just last week, which actually this was a blessing. Like the agony that I went through for a week while these teeth were falling out and breaking off gave me a measurable amount of data. So it helped get me here. So here we are. So like I said, the causal mechanism behind multiple sclerosis and all of these disorders is ingrowing hairs, particularly specifically around the temple. We've been warned about this, and I'll talk about our warning about this later. But what the fuck? The ingrown hairs are insidious, innocuous, and benign for the most part. As far as I can tell, they really only become symptomatic when they get disturbed by stretching or because of where they are. And I'll explain where they are. There are a lot of places that you wouldn't expect them to be. But they originate above the neck and the scalp or the beard hair area, around the edges of the beard or at the temple. And for the 8 years that I was suffering with what I was feeling like, and I can explain the process that brought me to thinking that they were an ingrown hair, but it's a long story, and it involves some weird divergent trips into some weird rabbit holes. Joe Rogan sent me down a really, what I thought was and it was actually, that rabbit hole brought me here, and I'll explain that in another video. But anyway, like I said, so I'm going to explain how this works. So like I said, humans shave, and I don't know why we do it, but we do it. And I was in the military, so I get fined if I didn't shave for a period of my life. And when I was a kid, my grandfather used to take me to the barber shop and get my hair cut every 3 weeks. And that old guy, he was a shaky guy. He was old, but when he got that straight razor in his hand, he steadied right up. And he used to, give me a tapered haircut, we called it, and it was military style, short on top and tapered at the sides and the back. Those I'd ask for, short on top, tapered at the sides and the back. I went to that guy from, I don't know, like throughout my teen or from my, childhood into adolescent years, I guess, and then he died, I guess, finally. But I still kept getting my hair cut very regularly because, later in my teen years, I joined the military, and then I was used to short hair, and I kept it short. And I looked goofy when my hair got past my ears anyway. So I always had short hair, and everybody I knew had shaved in one form or another. Again, it never occurred to me in my whole life until last week, Mother's Day, actually, at 1:30 in the morning. I was curious about, I won't tell you why I was curious, but it had something to do with, it was plant-based anyway, why I was curious, but I wondered about the side curls thing. Like why? Because again, for the whole time that I've had this condition, I felt like it was because I was a painter for a long time. An industrial, commercial, and institutional painter. So I sprayed a lot of epoxies, two-part products that had curing agents and solvents that were highly volatile. We're talking methyl ethyl ketone, toluene, I always pronounce that one wrong, but I got it right that time for a change. Benzene and some acetone and a whole bunch of stuff, right? And the thing is, back in those days, we were aware that we weren't supposed to breathe in the dust from, like, what does that keep saying? Anyway, so we weren't careful with it. We were careful with breathing it in or whatever. We were getting fumes and particles in our lungs or our sinuses or whatever. But we were always washing up with those solvents. And it wasn't really until I was in my 30s, I guess it was like 30 something, when I decided to quit smoking, and I went on the patch and I learned all about how you can absorb stuff through your skin. So now I didn't put that, I wasn't sick when I was quitting smoking. I was just doing it because I was going away to school, and I thought you can only smoke on campus, and it was winter time, and I wasn't going to walk to the curb, so I decided to quit so I could not have to, get freeze my butt off or whatever. So anyway, so I quit for 22 years, but I started again a couple of years ago because, anyways, for different reasons. I was sidetracked. Okay, so like I said, now here's how it works. Yeah, it's probably as soon as you started shaving there's an opportunity for the hair to grow the other direction. So rogue hair follicles have decided, because they've been cut off at the surface of the dermis, that, and maybe there's something blocking the hole. Maybe it doesn't really necessarily have to happen. I assumed it was because I wore glasses or a hard hat or something, some kind of a head covering when I was painting, that blocked, or and plus all the dust, drywall dust and everything else, my pores were always clogged up. We were always really eager to get home and shower at the end of the day because get all that. And it was just, it was just like plaster would just come off you at the end of the day. So I could imagine my pores being clogged up. So as I was getting sick and the symptoms were manifesting as they were, and I kept feeling like I had these ingrown hairs above my ear affecting my hearing. I had tinnitus and ringing in my ears, and I was also having some jaw issues, lockjaw a little bit. And then I started having these neck issues, including about a torticollis that was like exorcist level twisted head thing. So, like I said, they didn't know what was wrong with me. The symptoms were all over the place, neurological, cognitive, and but also like gastrointestinal and my extremity. I was losing feeling in my fingers and hands. I was having Bell's palsy issues and everything. So, like I said, I sort of thought it was hairs, but everybody told me it was impossible. I spent 72 hours in a psych ward because I called a doctor's bluff when he said I was crazy for even suggesting it. It was impossible. And he wouldn't actually look in my ear where I had actually stuck my own endoscope and saw this hair. And I'll show you a picture. I'll bring it up here now if I can edit it in, but if I can't, it'll be in another video. But anyways, I had this picture on my phone of my hair going right across my eardrum. And he wouldn't even look. He just said that I was crazy, and that if I insisted that he was going to have to, that I should see a psychiatrist, that I was delusional. And I read it, but I mean, I know what a delusion, I know what to diagnose. I know that, okay, so in the DSM, the Diagnostic Service Manual for Psychiatry, the way that you have to diagnose a delusional disorder is look for the source of the delusion that the person has. Like if I say I have bugs crawling under my skin, the doctor has to look and show me he's looking, and I get to look too and verify, hey, there's no bugs there. Then if I still think there's bugs there, I'm crazy. But the doctor has to at least make that effort to show. So when I got diagnosed with a delusional disorder, I wasn't even interviewed. I was interviewed over a Skype call, I think. And then the second person that screwed around with my diagnosis never even talked to me until after the fact. So I was diagnosed after I'd already been diagnosed as not delusional but needing medical attention. Sometime they changed my diagnosis and didn't tell me. So I actually found it a few months later when I was trying to follow up on that actual physical referral. Whole other story. But there was a nightmare of diagnostic ups and downs, and like I said, so I challenged this one doctor on, he said, you're crazy, and I said, I'm not crazy, and he said, you are, and I said, prove it, and he said, well, you'll have to go down the hall to the psych ward, and then I ended up getting locked up for 72 hours, so if you say something wrong to them at the hospital, anyway. That was a horrible 72 hours. Anyway, so besides all that, so what happened to me on Mother's Day at 1 o'clock in the morning was I was wondering about side curls, yarmulke, that kind of stuff. So a YouTube video came up, and the guy said before he was going to talk about the yarmulke, he wanted to talk about side curls, which I think I was actually on a video because I was curious, because I'm losing it up here, and I kind of know where it's going, and I wanted to, I don't know, I just wanted to know why we wear yarmulke. Plus, I guess because I knew it was ingrown hairs, and I thought it was because of cutting my hair and stuff. I don't know, I thought there's a lot of rules in various religious texts about shaving and head coverings. And I've always wondered about that, because I know most of the stuff in some of the Moses books are, like the Moses Mosaic books, like Numbers and Leviticus and Deuteronomy and stuff. Those guys, they're like camp rules and like, just good rules to live by, social psychology standpoint. But I mean, I won't get too opinionated on all of the esoteric stuff, but I always kind of looked at those as being at the practical rules at the time to sort of live by. I think of, like I watched Deadwood, the series, and I think of Moses as a bit like Swearingen. I know that's terrible. Swearingen he swore a lot. But anyway, I know that's a really probably heathenistic comparison, but I mean, you're looking after a settler's camp in the desert. Same thing. And I mean, you got to make sure that so I can see Moses like watching his people and making sure that they were going to be okay. So those rules were about being okay, not, succumbing to different avoidable dilemmas that would, eradicate them possibly, or at least, affect their population. So anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to get off on the theology stuff, but anyway, there are, like I said, there's specifically Leviticus 19:27 says to not round the corners of the head or shave the edges of the beard, and that doesn't make it like I've kind of looked recently because that's the one. That was kind of the one that this guy in the video referred to. He said that's why they keep the side curls. It's because they're not allowed to shave their sideburns, that area of your temple, around your, above and in front of your ear. They don't shave that. And also that is actually the edge of your beard area, which all this is too. Now, I believe that area of the skin, like your skin is just a big organ, spread out and protecting your whole body, but it has different characteristics at different places for different reasons to serve different functions, I'm assuming. So apparently this skin, your dermis around this area is an area, and I don't know what it's called because like I said, I don't speak scientist, but there's a transition between the mucosal membrane type skin in your inner and middle ear, and then it changes to more porous, spongy skin as it comes out of your body, right? And now there's some other holes in your body that same thing happens. And I can guarantee you the same thing happens there too, but not going in. This is where they come out. That's a whole other video, folks. I have mapped them, manipulated them, monitored them, and I can do some cause and effect stuff, and I have repeatable experiments that I've done at much cost to my own physical well-being. I think I lost 5 teeth out of this side of my head because I knew that I was manipulating them to move in a certain way. Well, it turns out I was moving them the wrong way, and the hairs were wrapped around my teeth in my gums at the root level. And as I was moving them, they were actually drawing my teeth together. I had like one tooth broke right off, and three teeth broke off, and one tooth just fell right out after the slack was there from the other one. So see, I used to have beautiful teeth. I used to get complimented on because I took care of them, and until all this happened, and I lost my job and my dental plan, my benefits, and everything else, I had great teeth. So. And it turns out where the dentist drilled for one of my fillings, he drilled in, and there's a lot of evidence that the hairs were there when he did that. But it entirely could be that they filled that area afterwards. There is a component of where wound healing affects these guys. Now, so this is what I want to get to is, ingrown hairs doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense to me. And apparently 9 out of 10 doctors think I'm crazy and they think ingrown hairs are impossible. And the one doctor that thought I was onto something looked at actually a photo on my phone, never did actually look in my ear or down my throat. At this point, they're down there. But I did get offered some juice and crackers on the way out of the emergency that day. But I didn't really get much help. And I did insist on some blood work because it was suggested to me quite a while ago that this might be connected with Lyme disease. And I just, at that time when I went to the hospital here, I wanted to know if that, like, so basically what was affecting me and everything was just another bout for me, but I was taking the opportunity to, that I look so sick that I should go to the emergency room because they could at least see that I was in bad shape. And most of the time I've gone because I just feel really bad. And I also come up with some kind of, I've been trying to prove, I don't need proving to prove to myself that what's going on is going on. I have that. I mean, I have hours of video and thousands of stills pulled out of those videos. There's still more to go, and I don't have the dexterity, the vision to get at, like I can get at it. I'm doing it slowly. That's why I'm doing this right now, is because I don't think that, I think this is time sensitive, and I don't think that I'm going to have time to get all this out quick enough for it to do good. And I want this to do good. I want people to start right now looking into this so that we can, this will eradicate those diseases. We know the cause, then we know how to prevent it from here on. And I think I have found ways through my own anecdotal experimentation to find, like, to treat people that already are afflicted with this. And I think that everybody is, like everybody that shaves has got the potential for this to infiltrate them and damage them, because you're never going to know they're there until they do something wrong. And when they go in, they're basically a bridge between your innards and your outwards and the outside world. So if you know about wicking and capillary action and seeping and all that kind of stuff, I'm a certified water operator in British Columbia, Canada, and I managed the water treatment and distribution system that served resort on 7 acres. And anyway, not a big deal, but I know a little bit about fluid dynamics and pressure differentials and filtration and water treatment, but that has nothing to do with this. But there's a lot of transferable skills that I've picked up along the way. And hey, if you want to look at my resume, I think it's, I don't know, it's on Indeed or something like that. But I'm going to put some more videos up because I need to explain some more of this. There's a lot of implications to this. Like, I'm talking, like, this could really affect the pharmaceutical industry in a pretty significant way, being able to eradicate like things like eczema, for instance, or I mean, if people stop shaving because of this, because really that's what people should do. I know that sounds biblical or, like, you know, like really kind of orthodox, but I think that they were onto something when they were warning us about shaving in these particular areas, because like I started to say earlier, those transition areas of our skin, I don't know what goes on there. I can't get any I'm not a scientist. I don't have a lab. I don't even have a microscope. I have a $30 endoscope camera that films in 460p. So that's what we're dealing with. The images that I'm showing up here and everything that's the best I can do, folks. I'm trying, I wish I had more help, but like I said, I lost everything. And now that I've discovered this, people already think that, you know, people have been thinking I was crazy for 5 years. And you probably think I'm crazy too. And what I want to reiterate in this video, you know, before I get done, is that it doesn't matter what you think, and it doesn't even matter if you understand what I'm saying or not. I please need you to share this video or show it to somebody that you know that may get it, because I know it sounds simplistic, like almost in a way. It does. It sounds like this has been under our noses for forever. Since people started shaving, there were people warning us about how to do it or not to do it or whatever. And again, I'm not a theologian. I don't know all of the rules and regs about head coverings and stuff like that, but I had, you know, like this Leviticus 19:27 was the piece of the puzzle that connected mine to the rest of the world, because it made me realize that this isn't just about me. Like, I was kind of content with finding out what was wrong with me and learning how to live with it and hoping I could last, you know, a little longer before it did irreparable damage to something important. Because as it is, I really feel it around I know it's been affecting my kidneys for quite some time. They wrap around your glands. All of your glands have the potential to have these guys wrapped around in the interstitial tissue and stuff. So this is how they're getting where they go, is they avoid setting off your infection detection system in your skin in those areas. And once they're in, they're in. There's nothing your body's going to do to get rid of them, because they're genetically you, and they're not going to get rejected. Why would they? And they only really, so when they do move, they're moving with the flows of fluids in your body. That's the best way I can say it. They're hitchhiking. They're catching a ride, like they're cruising down the current or whatever. So once they get into this area, I'm pointing that I'm very confident about this now. For the last few years, I've known that they were there, and I knew they were around my eyes and in my sinuses and my gums and around my throat, and you'll see evidence of that. But I didn't know exactly. I suspected the temple, but I had no way to confirm that. No way at all, because I couldn't get anybody to look under the skin. All the information I have is from what I can glean with very limited instrumentation. I can't get inside to see what they've done. I imagine they have my intestines wrapped up like an onion bag, and my other organs too. So what I think that they do is they go down here, they bump into things, because they don't really bump into things because they're going to move with whatever is flowing around you. There's liquids flowing around us all the time. Now, if you know, and you don't need me to explain it, but if you don't know, I'm going to explain it as a redneck. But the way I look at it, it's like, what I couldn't understand was when the hairs how do they go anywhere? Because when your hair grows, it just falls and gets gravity, it's light and it's not, so you can't push a rope. I guess that's the best analogy. But you can shove a rope through a tube, you know what I mean? And here's the best analogy, is I look at it like this, like cast a fishing line into a moving stream, and it'll move along with the stream and stay taut. And if you feed out line from the reel, it'll just keep going down the stream. So imagine your ear and the peristaltic flow and capillary action in your body is like a body of water. So when your follicle casts out that hair fiber and it gets caught in that flow, it goes wherever that goes. Now, again, it's not like your body's just one circular or fluid flow of motion, otherwise you'd leak out somewhere or you'd get dizzy if it was all going. So it moves up and down and around as you're, stand up, lay down, move around, things are moving. And water likes to go where there's less pressure and likes to fall down with gravity and stuff like that. Anyway, that's a whole other anatomy lesson. But long and short of it is these guys are like, logs in a stream, and they form log jams here and there. Like there must be eddies in this area. And so what I think happens is when they do get close to the bones and start grinding away at bone, their small particles of calcium get on there, so they act like wicks. And the capillary action of a wick means that stuff can flow depending on pressure differences and movement. It can move anywhere in that cord, that line, right? Those fibers. And I've got them braided together down my throat. So there's a thick wick there. And I don't know where it goes. Once it goes down into my gullet, it goes somewhere. And I don't know what's being transported. So what I think happens is that the reason it's so hard to diagnose this, and it's impossible actually to find the hairs, because as you're going through the diagnostic process, if any pathogens shows up in enough people, well, that's the cause, right? So I can't remember, but I know there are some suspected pathogenic causes, but they're not sure. Well, the pathogens are hitchhikers, and they ride the bus. Well, the hairs are the vehicles, and your peristaltic and interstitial spaces in your body are the pathways, freeways, or whatever. So that's the best analogy I can come up with. So the hairs are the vehicles, the pathogens are the hitchhikers, and your body is the roadway, like your peristaltic, your little interstitial spaces are the roadway. So that's what's happening. So science, take it from here, because I really don't know anything else about the rest of it. Like if you're a microbiologist, you might want to look at what some of those pathogens are. Now, here's the thing, the reason why maybe some of these disorders present specifically in certain ways, and then that's pathogen is found in that person, but then it presents in a different way, so it's a different pathogen. This is why I think it's fibromyalgia, IBS. I know it's IBS, I guarantee that, but even vision loss and stuff like that. I've lost color vision in one eye. I'm colorblind in one eye now. But it's not full color blindness. It's kind of like just a difference in tone between the reds. The taupes look either warm or cool, and if I do this, I can change a taupey color from warm to cool just by changing my eyes. So anyways, there's a little bit of red, green, variation there. Some cones of one or the other are getting damaged. I knew that it was going to happen because I could feel them doing the damage. They're back there. I can pull them inside I found areas where I can actually, I still can't, when they do come out of the skin, they hitch a ride with your native hairs wherever they come out. They come out in wherever there's an opportunistic opening. And I suspect they wrap around the roots of hairs that are already coming out, or they just they hitch a ride, and maybe it's, I don't know, but I know I've got these 3 hairs on my arm that have been there for 5 years, and your body hair below your neck doesn't stay in you. It doesn't stay, I can't, antigenic? I can't remember the phases of the hair, but anyway, at the end, like, so basically your hair in your head and your beard, like everything above your neck, can potentially grow for 6 to 8 years at about 1 millimeter a day. So you're looking at about 1 foot a year. So 6 feet roughly is the potential length of these fibers. And I can tell you that that's true because I have them coming out of my toes. That sounds incredulous. It sounds impossible. The doctors have told me it's impossible, but it's not impossible. And there's photographic and anecdotal evidence that I can guarantee you it's not impossible. So that's the thing, is I kind of know where they're doing at my extremities, and I sort of know what they're doing in my upper thinking bucket, but I don't know what they're doing in here. And I've asked to be looked at. And I've had an ultrasound where they saw shadows in my kidneys, but it looked like kidney stones forming. I don't think it was. And I also had my neck x-rayed and MRI and CT scan. And basically the gist of everybody's look at things was that there were some bone spurs along the side of my spine. I suspect those are deposits of calcium for sure, but I suspect they got there hitchhiking a ride with the actual hairs that are taking them from somewhere else in my bones, weakening my bone structure somewhere. So anyway, like I said, that's what I got so far. Like, this is all coming out of my head right now. I'm gonna keep putting videos out. I have no choice. I have to get this information out to as many people as possible because I don't know anybody. Like, I don't know how to share this so that it gets into the right hands. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this needs to get into the right hands, and it will change medicine. It'll change people's lives, millions of people's lives, millions of people going forward. If we can prevent this, if we can advise people on how to prevent it, there are definitely some laser options for dealing with hair in that area. I have them coming out of my ear. If you ever get one of those hairs that just pops out somewhere, that's like, hey, wow, I got that hair. How did it grow that fast? How did it grow that far so fast? Well, it was probably just laying in the skin, waiting to get rejected by your body, because I'm experiencing that on an incredible level. And I'm gonna tell you right now that every one of these things, when it does get moved, I have hernias. I went from 1 hernia to like 5 hernias in a matter of a few weeks. 3 of them came and went for about a year. And then I manipulated them away. I figured out which fibers went to them, and it's like a cross between a spider web and a dreadlock and a piece of cheesecloth that is just underneath the skin. And so it's subdermal, intradermal, intramuscular, and interstitial. I guess that would be where it is. It's everywhere. Like, I mean, where wouldn't it go? It's a hair. There's nothing. And like I said, if you did find one or see one, I had a foot x-ray one time because I was skydiving. I used to skydive, and I had a hard landing, and I thought I broke my foot. So I went to the emerge. They x-rayed it, and they saw a break right across 2 bones of my foot. So they put me in a temporary cast. So 2 days later, or 3 days or whatever, I came back to get the walking cast to get that one off. So they re-x-rayed it, and they said, well, you don't have a broken foot. It's fine. It was probably a hair in the x-ray. No, it was probably a hair in my fucking foot, because they're there. At one point, about 2 years ago, I found that they were in my upper lip and in my area in front of my sinus opening in my nose. So the front, I don't know what the names of the 3 sinus cavities are, but anyways, there's a lot of them at the anterior one, anyway, that's for sure. They like to come out at the base of the skull. So they're traveling in the skin, in the muscles, and around your lymphatic system. And what they're transporting, they're like wicks, and they're moving all of your fluids in places it shouldn't be, I imagine. So we're talking about lymph, plasma, bile and sweat, blood, sweat, tears. I mean, look at it all. Like I have them running through my tear ducts, my nose. I've learned that blowing my nose and sneezing and coughing and everything puts everything in a specific direction, and it's a good idea to do that every once in a while. Hence the teeth breaking and stuff. Like I said, I'll explain a lot in other videos on how I've been coping with it at a certain point, and then learning how to sort of manipulate it. And I certainly, again, I'm stuck right now. I like a couple of weeks ago when this agony that I was going through with these teeth, and I've had bouts of agony before, like the gastrointestinal stuff. There was times when it felt like there was a spike ball dragging barbed wire through my intestines, and I've been on my knees crying from pain and this agony here. Oh, the pain, the toothache got so bad. I've learned my lesson about punching a wall. It's happened to me before. I had to get a bunch of stitches from punching through a window for some stupid drunk reason. But anyway, so I was in so much agony that I was gonna punch the wall, but I couldn't stop it. I punched myself in the face twice. I almost broke my nose, and then I didn't knock myself out. So I decided I'll try to pull this tooth out, because it was like this one tooth was just hanging there, and I knew it was hanging by one of those hairs, but it looked like it was just attached to the gum, but I knew what was going on, and I yanked on it, and I passed out in the bathroom, and I woke up with a mouthful of blood and the tooth still there. Anyway, but I learned a lot, and I figured out right away, and after that, I was in so much pain, but I got enough relief that I was able to think clearly enough to know that if I started pushing them down, I was trying to pick what I could feel in my gums and everything out of my gums. I was trying to get it out of my head, pulling everything always out for a few days, and then all this stuff happened. And then anyways, like I said, this is all time for another video. Thanks for watching so far. If any of this, if it didn't make sense to you, like I said, share it anyway, because it does make sense to somebody. I know, again, I'm out of the loop because I've been working on this so long and because I feel like I went, like people thought I was crazy, and I was actually starting to question my own sanity for quite a while there. So, like I said, this is pretty important, and I don't want it to go to waste. So, again, what would you do when I had to ask myself on Mother's Day morning after I couldn't call my mom? I wanted to talk to my mom so bad when this occurred to me, that because it was just confirmation. I just kept wondering where they're originating, and because I was confident that what it was what it was, but I didn't know where it started. I couldn't figure out the direction, and that was a wild moment for me when I actually was confirmed. And I'll tell you how. It was because of that video, and honestly, looking in the Bible, Leviticus 19:27, don't shave your sideburns. I did, and I can show you the consequences of doing that, and I suspect those consequences aren't just happening to me; they're happening to other people, and nobody's looking for it. And why would they? And if they found it by accident, it's innocuous. It's nothing. It's the most insidious thing to happen to humanity, and it's been happening ever since we started shaving, I suspect. So, anyway, like, follow, share, subscribe. There will be more, so please subscribe. But like I said, I need as many people as possible to see this. This isn't going to get monetized. Trust me, the pharmaceutical industry will see to that. I doubt if anybody's really going to see this. But if you're watching it, I think you should feel, like I was starting to say earlier, what would you do if you felt the immeasurable weight? This is what I woke up to I went to bed with this on Mother's Day night, because I couldn't share this with enough people that day. And I actually felt the weight of 1 million people's pain and suffering on my shoulders. And I don't want it. I didn't want my pain and suffering on my shoulders. I'm a problem solver. Like, my pain and suffering needed to get solved or go away. And I worked on it until I don't take any credit for, I'm going to need some credit for this. Somebody's going to have to say thank you if this is true and works out, because I have no way to confirm all this. But I'm going to start, as of right now, posting my findings, because I can't compile them into a presentable paper or essay even, or anything. My fingers don't work. and my eyes are starting not to work. And even voice to text is screwed because my teeth are screwed and I'm slurring my words. So if you didn't understand me, play the video for somebody that might. Please. I'm begging you. I'm really, I've gone through all the emotions. Like the tears are gone. You know, when I realized this and tried to get help and people were, you know, you're crazy, whatever, Kevin. You know, another one of your stupid theories. I'm not the smartest cookie in the jar. I know that, right? I'm a blue collar guy. I was a painter most of my career. I took some little forays into some other jobs, addiction counseling for a while. So I studied pharmacology and interview skills and stuff like that. So I know how to talk to people and get information out of them. You know, I worked in security and I was in the military when I was younger and stuff. So there's a lot of reasons why I was able to figure this out. Well, there's no one, like I don't have a degree in anything that would indicate that I should know this. And what I know is really just fairly obvious once you know what to look for, or if you've had to live with it inside of you for long enough that you know what it is. It's inescapable, and you can't not know it once you know it. And so this is what I'm saying, is that the mechanism behind many of these autoimmune diseases, I don't know how many skin disorders, is ingrowing hairs. And there's 3 papers out there. If you look it up on the NIH or the PubMed website, at the last time I was able to get on, I don't have internet access where I am. I'm going to try to I'm going to hijack some Wi-Fi to upload this video, hopefully, because I don't have access to the outside world right now. I'm a homeless guy living in an abandoned factory. Like I said, I lost everything.